Alright, hello YouTube. I am going to make a video today showing you my Wapoga dwarf red laser rainbow fish. They're one of my favorites. They're awesome. They don't get too big. And I'm going to also show you how I breed them and what I do with the eggs and how I take care of the fry once I have the eggs hatched and how I raise them out. So that's what today's video is. If you don't know this fish, it's awesome. And without further ado, let the fish do the talking. Okay, first let's talk about tank setup. They have a very simple setup. It's a bare bottom tank. This is a 75 gallon, so it's 4 feet long, 18 inches front to back, and height, I forget, I think it's like 21 inches. And it's got a sponge filter back there, and it has a box filter. The sponge filter is for biological filtration, and the box filter is to try to take out any particulates in the water, just for water clarity. It doesn't do a perfect job, but it helps somewhat. In here I have some floating plants. This is just water sprite, which is my favorite plant because I can't kill it. And then we have the fish in there, which they do fantastic in this setup. It's nice and big. They can swim. They can be rapid swimmers, and this gives them the space to do that. They're in here with some Corridors elegans, which right now, because the camera's out, are all hiding underneath the sponge filter and such. And then there's a spawning mop in here. Now this isn't my main spawning area. I have a couple racks set up for spawning tanks, but since I have the fish in here, why not spawn them? So I threw a mop in there. So that's kind of the basic setup. Now let's look at the fish a little more closely. Alright, here's an awesome fish. This is the Wapoga red laser rainbow fish. Absolutely stunning. These guys are like the neon dwarf rainbow fish, but I think they're a little neater. They have a bright red tail that the neon dwarf rainbow fishes don't have. This is Melotania rubra-vittata. That's the name. Melotania rubra-vittata, Wapoga dwarf red laser rainbow fish. And every morning they get their breeding coloration on, they get fired up, and that's when they're absolutely stunning. They get this kind of bright, kind of neonish stripe that they get from their nose up to their dorsal. Basically their face, the front of their face just kind of flashes. You can see a little bit of that right above the eyes still. You'll see these on the males with those red tails. You might be able to see kind of around the eyes, above and behind the eyes, this kind of iridescent patch, and that's kind of where it flares up when they're really colored up. So right now they're not really colored up, but they're still a beautiful fish. I mean, they're always beautiful. In here I have 2 reverse trios, so I have 4 males and 2 females. And they're very peaceful. They don't hurt each other. They display a little bit, but not a lot of fin nipping or anything like that. And they're just an awesome, gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful fish. Super hardy. They eat anything. I pretty much feed them a big mix. They get frozen brine shrimp, they get frozen bloodworms, they get flake food, they get golden pearl pellets, they get other kinds of pellets, and they get live fruit flies, which they love. But they eat pretty much anything with abandon. So this is what they look like. I'm going to see if I can get in on one of these and really show you how nice they are. I mean, that is just a stunning... Ooh, he's running away. Don't run away. Stunning, stunning fish. There's that bright patch, kind of right over the black patch behind the eye there. That'll just glow. So anyway, let me zoom out again because I'm not the best cameraman in the world. So this is what they look like as adults. Super hardy, super peaceful. Beautiful, beautiful fish. One of my favorites. So I'm going to show you now how I breed these guys. Oh, before we do that, let me get some lights on in here, and we'll feed them some fruit flies, and you'll see them go nuts. Just a sec. Right, here's the fruit fly culture. As you can see, it's just full of fruit flies. This is the larger species, Hydei or Hydeli, something like that. A lot bigger than the Melanogaster. And this culture is just about on its last bloom. The medium's just about gone. It's just about used up. So I'm going to go ahead and feed these out. But I'm probably going to need 2 hands to open this. So just give me a second. Okay, so here's the culture, tapping it down, get the lid started here, then we're going to put a bunch in here. Alright, a bunch of fruit flies in there, and then let's show you this. This is pretty cool. These guys will come up and eat in a sec, as soon as they see them. Alright, so these guys are being a little bit camera shy. They don't like the camera in front of the aquarium, so I moved to this view. We can still see the fruit flies up on top of the water there, and I just love watching these guys eat. They're like little torpedoes, basically. They zoom up real quick, grab them, and zoom back down. They're not food aggressive by any means, but they are super quick, so if you do house them with other fish that are a lot slower eaters, you'll have to strategize a little bit on how to get food down to the slower fish, because these guys will just zip right around and eat the food really quick. And they remind me of trout a little bit, the way they'll kind of zig and zag up. It's kind of a defense thing in case there's predators up there. They don't want to make it easy for the predator, for a kingfisher or something to get them. So when they go up for the food, they kind of do this zigzag pattern, grab it and go right back down really fast. And it reminds me of when I'm fly fishing up in the mountains here, which I love to do. When the trout come up for the fly, it's the same thing. They kind of zig and zag and come up and grab the fly. Anyway, these guys are a ton of fun to watch eat. Alright, so getting eggs from this fish, the Rubra vittata, is pretty simple. Basically, you have a spawning mop in the tank, and I just leave it there, and as long as you feed the fish well and the water is kept clean, then they'll lay eggs. So I'm going to reach in there real quick, pull out the mop, and I'll show you what I do with the eggs and then what I do with the fry once the eggs are hatched. So let's get you where you can see a little better. Okay, so here's the spawning mop. I just took it out. I'm going to wring it out, and I actually do that not super hard, but you can put a good amount of pressure on it. You can get the mop pretty darn dry. Okay, so that's about as dry as I want it right there. Let's bring you over here to kind of this little breeding station we've got here. So now I'm going to pick out the eggs. As you can see, there's some eggs right there. There's some eggs right there. There's an egg right there. There's more eggs right there. Is this focusing? There? Woo. Okay, there you go. I'm probably going to get, okay, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a whole bunch of eggs here all around. Hopefully you can see them. Bunch of eggs in here, like little ornaments on a Christmas tree. There's more there. So, alright, so I'm probably going to have 30 to 40 eggs in this mop would be my guess. 20 to 50 a day pretty much is what I can pull from these guys in this setup. And I had a question on the YouTube video, which was a huge Corydoras unboxing video when I unboxed all those fish, and someone in the comments said, isn't it gonna negatively affect your yield if you have Corydoras in the tank? And the answer to that is that no, I don't think it is. Two reasons. Number one, there it is, my finger. Number one is that these aren't my main spawning tanks by any means. These are holding tanks and grow out tanks. Tanks to sell from, things like that. So when I really get down to breeding, I have 2 racks set up just for cranking out fish. And the other thing is, these guys are in the tank right now with Corydoras elegans, and there's 28, 30 Corydoras elegans in there, something like that, and there's still tons of eggs every day. So I don't think that the Corys are eating the eggs, or if they are, they're not getting to most of them. They're buried in the mop far enough that they're not getting eaten. So the Corydoras aren't really affecting the yield in any way that I can see or I can tell. So anyway, I'm gonna show you what I do with these. Let's talk about taking care of the eggs. What I have here is, this is the Tupperware container that I usually use for this kind of thing. And it's already got, if you look in here, it's got a lot of eggs in it already. Some of them are eyeing up. Let's see if I can show it to you. There you are. This is the container I put the eggs in, and basically you just pull the eggs off with your fingers and drop them in. It's not very hard. They're pretty darn tough. Every now and then you'll find one that you squished a little too hard, or was freshly laid and hadn't set up yet, or was perhaps infertile, and in that case I just throw it out. But most of these are going to be good, so I'm just going to go ahead and take them and put them right into this container. Okay. What the container has in it is just tap water that has the chlorine removed. It's tap water that has gone through a carbon block filter system. If you're wondering about that, there's a video about my fish room build, and you can check out the water system. But basically, water comes through the carbon blocks at about 75 degrees. The carbon blocks take out the chlorine, and then I can use that water. So that water goes into these 5.5 gallon tanks, which have matin filters in them, and several of those don't have fish in them yet. So I just dip this little container in there to get aged tap water basically out of it. So that's what that is. So I put the eggs in there, and then what I do is, my secret ingredient is hydrogen peroxide. It's not really a secret, lots of folks use it, but I still hear about bleach a lot of people using bleach. Hydrogen peroxide is so much better than bleach, and the reason is because when it degrades, when it oxidizes, its waste products are water and air. That's it. Whereas if you put chlorine in your tank, you're going to have all kinds of chlorine smell, and the waste products are all kinds of different chemicals. For this, you put this in, and once it's done reacting, all that's left is air and water. So air and water, that's great for fish. So it's a wonderful product. A container this size is maybe 99 cents. So I just take this little pipette here, squeeze a little bit in, and I put in 2 to 3 drops into this container. Okay? Now I change the water in this container 2 to 3 times a day, at least twice a day, morning and night. If I can get a little time at lunch, I'll change it 3 times a day. And the hydrogen peroxide will keep the eggs from fungusing. So that's one way to do it. And I'll pick the rest of these eggs later, but that just shows you kind of the process and how I do it. The other thing you can do is you can take the entire mop and throw it in a container of water as well. And when I do that, when I take the mop and just throw it in water, if I don't want to pick eggs, and then I put about 5 drops of hydrogen peroxide in here, 5 to 10, depending on how deep the water is. and that helps keep the fungus and the bacteria at bay, and the eggs will hatch. So that's another way to do it. Just take the mop, dump it in a container of aged tap water, put the hydrogen peroxide in it, and still you need to change the water once to twice a day just to keep it fresh. Bacteria is the enemy, fungus is the enemy, so change the water, keep your egg incubation water clean. But this is sometimes nice because if you don't have time to pick a bunch of eggs out of a mop every day, it can take quite a while. You can just take the mop, throw it in here, and in a couple weeks you'll have a baby rainbowfish fry. Alright, so we've talked about the fish a little bit, how they're set up, what they eat, things like that, and talked about the eggs. Now let me show you the babies. Okay, what we have here is a bunch of fry from Melanotania rubra-vittata, which is the scientific name for the Wapoga red laser rainbowfish, or Wapoga red laser rainbowfish. And they're a really cool fish. They look a lot like the neon rainbow, but with a nice bright red tail. So this is how I start them. As soon as I see that they've hatched in the egg container, I transfer them to these to begin their very first grow out. It's just a little shoebox. I start a lot of fry this way. I have a few plants in there, in this case some Java fern and some Java moss. Have some leaves in there that I put in my cherry shrimp tank, and so I always have leaves in the cherry shrimp tank that are in various stages of breaking down, of decomposing. And so I grab some of those and put them in here because they have little critters on them that the rainbowfish can pick on. There's 3-4 snails in there, and then there's also a where'd he go? There's a cherry shrimp in here, I just don't know where he went. The cherry shrimp and the snails are awesome. They eat a lot of the food that the fry don't eat, so we don't get a lot of extra food floating around and they're decomposing. And I've never had an issue with cherry shrimp or any of the Neocaridina shrimp, or the Caridina shrimp for that matter. I suppose a mono shrimp might eat fish eggs, but I've never had an issue with any of the others eating fish eggs. That being said, I haven't kept a whole lot. I've kept the cherry shrimp variant, and I've kept crystal red shrimp in their variants, but those are the only kind of shrimp species I've really kept. But none of those have eaten the eggs or bothered the fry. Even if the fry hatch a tiny bit early and have their yolk sacs still and need another day or two before they become free swimming, the shrimp still don't bother them, not in my experience. So I put the shrimp in there to help keep the tank, that's not a tank, is it? The little plastic container clean. And they also, I find, clean the eggs really well and help keep them from fungusing. So this is how I start the fry. 2 to 3 times a day I change just about 100% of the water in here, replace it with fresh, well, not fresh, with clean aged water from my system. And I feed these guys, they're very, very small. So I feed them with these are microworms, and I don't know if the light's coming through here at the right angle that you could see just this huge cloud. Yeah, I think you can see them there. I'm sorry, these aren't microworms, these are vinegar eels. So this huge cloud of vinegar eels, and they're even so much that they're crawling up on the sides here, and I can really just go like this with my finger and scoop them out and put them in there with the little baby fish, and that way I don't have to put the vinegar in there, which is kind of nice. I also feed them these is just I got these from Ken's Fish. They're 5 to 50 micron golden pearls, so just dust really is what they are. And I just take my finger, get a tiny bit on my finger like that, and then sprinkle it over the water like that. And if you look closely, I don't think the camera will pick it up, but I can see just this thin layer of this dust over the water for the fish to eat. So I do that 2 to 3 times a day. The oldest fry in here are probably 4 days old, and there's some that I put in there just yesterday. So 1 day to 4 days old basically is how old these guys are, and there's about 50 of them in this little container. They're just about old enough. Oops, lost them. Let me get them back in focus for you. There we go. They're just about old enough that I can start feeding baby brine shrimp. A couple more days and I'll do that. At which point I'll switch them to a 5.5 gallon aquarium with a matin filter, and I'll put these plants and leaves and snails and shrimp in there with them, and then I'll begin their grow out. And once they eat brine shrimp, they grow a lot quicker than when they're on the golden pearls and the vinegar eels. So anyway, that's how I start baby rainbow fish, and they're a little bit slow growing, but they're well worth it. And I'm really interested to see how quickly they grow in the 5.5 gallon tanks, because those get a water change 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 times a day, and so just automatically. And so I think I'll be able to really pump the food into them and get them growing really quickly. It's almost like they'll just have fresh water constantly. So anyway, that's how I grow up the Wapoga red laser rainbow fish. Alright, so that's how I deal with the Wapoga dwarf red laser rainbow fish, Meloteniata rubra, which one of my favorites of all the rainbows. And if you like this video, this is where at the end, you know, we always beg for subscriptions, likes, shares, all that stuff. So if you liked it, if you consider sharing, subscribing, liking, any of that stuff. If you have any questions or anything, please leave them in the comments below. I do my best to answer all those, and we can get some kind of a fun dialogue going there. And also, if you like this fish, this and several other fish are available at dansfish.com. I'd encourage you to check that website out. And if you like anything there, then you know, feel free to buy it. Anyway, that's the video for today. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll check in with you guys later. All right, bye.